invite new speakers that will speak about Mezhyhirya Today. What's happening on the territory of the former residence of Viktor Yanukovych, whom it belongs to, and what's going on that territory. We'll speak to those who are there, and Denis, Tarahkotelyk, Mezhyhirya Commandant, Assistant Viktor Olenchenko, and a lawyer will consult us, and Dmytro Karp, coordinator of AutoMaydan Kiev. Please, I invite you. Good afternoon. We organized this press conference because
була така точка кипіння.
Because on Monday there was a great difficulty in Mezhyhirya, because there was one more effort to capture it, to arrest it by party Svoboda and by general prosecution. Why it sounds like that? Because an investigator from general prosecution came, and together with an advisor of the minister of agrarian policy of Stitsenko Yuri Pavlovich, he's an advisor for Minister Shvaika, Minister of Agriculture, and they brought a document. The prosecution gave us such a document about, and that was approved by Bechersk court, a decision that Protasov an investigator, Protasov has the right for investigation. He was not there, but there was his boss. He told that they came for an investigation from the public general prosecution, and afterwards, after we are done, he told we will give to Yuri, who is, in addition to an advisor, he is also director of the branch of the state enterprise, scientific, and Pushchavoditsa, and that there is a facility. There were representatives from communities. First of all, from Novopetritsky's village, Vyshhorod 100, AutoMaydan, right sector, and other citizens of Ukraine, activists who keep an eye on events in Mezhyhirya. And so I am not just a commandant who runs something and takes decisions. I get advice of people, of the community. It's not that I decide. I agree everything with people. If they agree, then we take a decision together. On Monday, people got together around this situation, and together with the investigator from the general prosecution, we started to clarify everything. We told that we are not on your way. We are not the way of the investigation from the prosecution. He can investigate, but we disagree that a decision from the general prosecution, we disagree with that decision, that Mezhyhirya is under state enterprise Pushchavoditsa. Why we disagree? Because on the 23rd of February there was a decision done in the Parliament of Ukraine. The Cabinet of Ministers is obliged during 10 days to develop procedures on problematic categories like territories like Mezhyhirya, Sukholycha, etc. And that document, the draft law, is not divided yet, and territory of Mezhyhirya is not nationalized. It is still belongs to Tantalit and several companies, offshore companies, that belong to British citizens, something like that. Lawyers will speak about that. They will give you details. And we explained that we disagree on which basis General Prosecutor, the General Prosecutor gives such orders that it should belong to Pushyavodytsia. Why? Because it is the fifth month. The state didn't give us any money. They gave us national guards who, together with self-defense, they defend guard the territory of Mezhyhirya. And I will touch problems. The state has not provided even a copy to us. From the money, we charge money, 20 hryvnia, from people who come, because in a week after we came to Mezhyhirya, and when we were trying to set some order, because you remember that journalists from different TV channels, from Ukrainian, American, Western, they recorded everything there were, and you remember how many people there were. In a week, the staff who was working there, like electricians and boilers, they won't. They boilers operators. They were not. They were not supposed to leave the place because there's a lot of electricity with substations and also boilers. And they told me directly they switched off a boiler because there are two boilers in Mezhyhirya. They switched it off and they told me, not someone else. They told, if you don't pay us, we are leaving Mezhyhirya, and it's up to you what happens here. Because of such it was a critical moment. There was no money. Nobody came from the government to do anything in Mezhyhirya. I made a decision. I spoke to people, to the community, to self-defense, etc., that we should collect money from tourists who we should collect 20 hryvnia for a ticket. We spoke to people how much people would pay, because everybody would like to come and see, and pensioners, we charge 10 hryvnia from pensioners. And from children, 10 from 18, 10 hryvnia, and up to 10 years old, they're free tickets, and disabled people don't pay. Because we had to raise money to pay the salary to the staff and to solve problems which are there every day. For animals, we didn't invest any money into animals there. For 3 months, we didn't pay money for fodder because there was enough of fodder in the storage, and also volunteers helped us, so there was no need to invest into animals. But we paid money to the staff, and we have 22 people who serve there for a zoo. When we started to raise money, we started to hire people for them to maintain boilers, and the winter was over, and a lot of plants started to grow. Here's a question. How much does it cost to maintain Mezhyhirya? First, the zoo, fountains, territory. To maintain their territory in economic regime, it's about 800,000 hryvnia a month. We don't pay for gas, and also we don't pay for electricity. Electricity, we have a debt for this month. I went to Kiev Energo, and I spoke to gas service. Tarahkotelyk company, they had money on the balance, and they paid in advance. And we still have some extra money, about 1 million, as they told us, and that is for gas. As to Kiev Energo, on the balance, we had 2 million hryvnia paid in advance, and we used them during the first 3 months, and now we're in debt. So in economy regime, we have to pay. We have from tourists. How much do you charge? Just very little money we will get. During the first month in March, we collected about 250,000 hryvnia. In April, 550 thousand hryvnia, and in May, 1,250,000 hryvnia. So we raised more money. Why? Because we started to control the process, and the people started to pay more, because not everybody paid at the beginning. Some people paid, some people did not pay. Those who wanted, now everybody pays, and it's enough. Yes, we have a special ticket, and it is like a donation for everyone to pay, because we don't have other money to survive from. And 2 months ago, we made a decision that we would receive refugees, as many as possible. So now we have 72 refugees. Half of them are children, preschool age, and about 15 and older. And also you maintain, you support refugees from that. Yes, we provide 3 times a day with food, and they get everything like diapers for children, irons. Volunteers started to help, but refugees in Mezhyhirya and all TV channels came and see and saw. There is nobody among refugees live better than they in Mezhyhirya. That's why we do maximum. We had 500 from the right sector before military battles. But in 2 weeks, we supported them for 2 weeks, and then they went to fight. Also, we help soldiers who are in trenches for long and who don't have even binoculars with night vision. Volunteers help, but we were the first to react. We have contacts with all. We have more than 130 people who are paid minimal salaries, 3,000 hryvnia. Kinologists, and they are paid 4,000 hryvnia. And it was agreed to with the community. We decided that they should train German shepherds, because we don't have enough of them who could search for explosive devices. And it's everybody is interested in where 20 hryvnia goes. Why you not get interested? There were more than 3 million visited Mezhyhirya, and more than 2 million didn't pay anything. They just came in groups to see how President Yanukovych lived. Nobody asked us why there are flowers there. So we planted flowers for the 3rd time. I was several times in Mezhyhirya, and I understand how much that costs, and to support that on that level. And I think people don't have that question. It's world practice and international practice, that people have to pay for museums. And not all, but there are provocators, and they say, why do you collect money? It's not under control of the state. People tell me, we save billions of hryvnia, more than 12 billions. Why? There were some experts and told that these chandeliers cost 26 million. This chandelier cost 11 million. This kitchen in Hunka, there are 4 of them. It cost $100,000. So everywhere they were, billions were paid. Why no one from journalists may told what happens on Dacha Pshunka and what we have in Mezhyhirya? Okay, let's come closer to events in Mezhyhirya, because there was information, and I read in Kiev Post. It says that the problem with Mezhyhirya is that there's a decision of the general prosecutor to stop entrance to visitors, and the main reason is to have an investigation there, and that there is information, that there is evidence and information which can help to investigate the case of Yanukovych.
Good morning. I am Dmytro Karp, AutoMaydan coordinator. It happens so that the majority of commandants in Mezhyhirya, those who've been able to preserve it for the nation, they are the people who participated throughout the time of Maidan, who participated in AutoMaydan, who were actively involved in meetings, etc. But no one of the officials said any thank you words to those people. Already in the first days in Mezhyhirya, those people really did their best to protect the property from looting, risking their lives even, and they managed to preserve it in the pristine form. What happens with the General Prosecutor's Office? You see, the Svoboda faction is really free today, free enough to try and grab everything that is for grabbing in their view. We have administrative resource use, we have this quota-based principle. Speaking of the ex-general prosecutor, Mr. Magnitsky or Mr. Shvaika, they provided this letter from the GPO to launch the investigation and to pass the property to an agricultural state enterprise. But can one imagine an agricultural enterprise having legal and investigatory capacities to do proper investigation? So how it all happened that the GPO document eventually translated into some commission to this state agriculture enterprise. We do know that General Prosecutor Mr. Magnitsky belongs to Svoboda Party, or let us remember who Minister Shvaika is. So let us be clear about it. Svoboda faction tries to really grab what is there for grabs, be it Kiev, Gorstroy or other organizations, and they are really active in pursuing that. And this brings us back to a conclusion that Svoboda really wants to replace Yanukovych regime, and they really think that there is nothing and nobody around them except for them. I think that they should be mindful of those who really died for this change in the government. Many of the current staff in Mezhyhirya, they work free of charge. They have been working for 4 months, doing their best to preserve everything. The recreational area, the park zone there. Yet Magnitsky continues saying that they were indecent people, and it was hugely supported by Minister Shvaika. But wait, we have another general prosecutor appointed recently. Well, we can only hope that our new general prosecutor will change the situation. There was a decision adopted already in March in reaction to a letter signed by many non-governmental institutions and organizations and AutoMaydan. The letter concerned, it was actually a letter of authority to Denis to represent the non-governmental and community organizations. More than 20 organizations signed this letter of authority to authorize Denis to be the commandant of Mezhyhirya. It was It were representatives of local communities in Novopetrivci, in Vyshgorod, local self-defense, etc. So actually, we really want to have investigation, proper investigation there. All sorts of documents that had been found in Mezhyhirya were scanned and transferred to the General Prosecution Office. It was more than 20,000 papers. Was it not enough to launch a professional investigation? I still have this question pending for Mr. Makhnitsky. So all the documents that were there were taken away from Mezhyhirya. There is not a single piece of it left. But well, what was the formal pretext expressed by the General Prosecution Office regarding the closure of Mezhyhirya? Well, there was no mention of complete closure of Mezhyhirya. It was about temporary withholding visits to there until the completion of investigation. It literally says that this letter is issued to Mr. Protasov, who represents the GPO, to authorize him as a member of the investigation group from the GPO to carry out investigations in living and non-living premises located at Vyshgorodska region, Petrovci settlement, Mezhyhirya. Those properties belong to the company Tantalit. So all these documents were presented to the GPO. Every piece of paper we found, we passed them to the GP. There are also other companies involved. The Nadra of Ukraine, Metinvest Trade, Tantalit, and other companies. These companies are directly or have been directly involved in the management of Mezhyhirya. So to make it more clear, is it to say that all the title and rights to Mezhyhirya still belong to the companies you mentioned? Yes, this is correct. And the attorney we have with us will explain in more detail the situation. But I would want to tell you that we, as the community representatives, as those who really try to manage and administer the area, we consider the area to be a national park, and the only investigation is necessary is to show that it has been built for state funds robbed from the budget, and we do want it to be turned a national park subject to protection, government protection. If we recall those parks that Count Pototsky set up in Ukraine in his time, it is no match to it. And we need a special state enterprise being established to manage these properties. And those people who have been working there for 4 months already, they have to be employed there, and they need to get salaries, and they need to get social security, and to be fully fledged Mezhyhirya supporting staff, because really it is next to impossible for us to maintain the Mezhyhirya area at this moment. Take Honka. It was suggested by joint effort with the Prime Minister of Ukraine to make a museum of oligarchy of Ukraine, for example. Okay, let us hear the attorney, the lawyer, who might explain us the situation around that. I'm Alexander Olenchenko. I'm lawyer and attorney, and the property status, the status of this property remains as it was at the time when Yanukovych fled the country. That is, it is still in ownership of Tantalit company. It is not arrested, and essentially it is necessary to move the property to have it the status of property under control of those who persecuted the top-level criminals, and after that continue supporting and maintaining the property. So the current criminal legislation provides for exemption of such property only for the purpose of sales of that property by authorized bailiffs. So now we see an attempt of this property to be transferred to some state enterprise. But given this criminal legislation provision that such property may be exempted or transferred to any other entity only for sale purposes, we see really a warning sign here. As regards investigation, it can be carried out at any time. All the investigators can freely go there and carry out whatever investigative steps they need. So what is necessary now is to really launch stock taking of this property and properly transfer the property to those who have been maintaining it since the time of its capture. Why we see these attempts from the Ministry of Agrarian Policy regarding this place? I'm not sure of the reasons, because there are no legal grounds for that. We see a wider systemic problem, a legislative framework-wide problem of management of properties under criminal investigation. We do know of cases when investigative actions are being launched for the sole purpose of property exemption and alienation, when the property effectively disappears or becomes owned by some other strange persons. If I'm not mistaken, on 23rd of February, the Parliament of Ukraine adopted a resolution to change the Mezhyhirya property status into that of the community public property. Essentially, it was a resolution aimed at the cabinet, and it exactly commissioned the cabinet to design a mechanism on nationalization of Mezhyhirya and similar properties. We still do not have this mechanism. 5 months into this decision, into this moment, there is not a single move from either the cabinet or the Verkhovna Rada, and people really are worried that 5 months into the problem, it is finally necessary to provide some clear-cut legislative status for the transfer of this property for the benefit of the state. Part of this property was actually transferred to a museum that concerned properties of historic and cultural value. I mean, paintings, statues, books, medals, and decorations. They were transferred to the National Museum, and they're now at store on Grushevsky Street. Channel 24, Lisa Gerasimyuk, the GPO website announced today that the property, the land actually of Mezhyhirya has been transferred to the national property today. We haven't heard of that. The information actually quotes the commercial court decision regarding that. But okay, then we still need a national park, a national reserve being created, and a sort of state company should be established to manage this property. And we will talk to Prime Minister to explain him that those who have been working there for 5 months, that they should be included into full staff of this would-be managing enterprise. So our key requirement is to nationalize the property, to make it the national reserve, because really this is a huge park that is worth millions of investments. We need to establish a museums there, a recreation area there, to make it available to the public, for people to enjoy it. But for that purpose, it must be maintained by some structure, by some company. And I think when we finally come to this solution, when a state enterprise will be created to manage this territory, then it will open possibility to really launch normal commercial and administrative activities. We are really glad to hear that the GPO announced nationalization of the Mezhyhirya territory. The only thing is that it should be done correctly to avoid a situation in a year or two when the old masters come and go to European court of sorts requesting their property back. We need to be very clear legislatively.
I'd like to ask you, we understand your problems. What are concrete? What did you do concretely? Probably it's a competence it's in the power of cabinet of ministers to solve these issues. But have you spoke to them when they approved that agreement? You didn't allow that to the territory or what? We didn't have any. It didn't happen that we didn't allow any statesman to Mezhyhirya. People came to illustration. An investigator came. We came in and we sit down at the table in our communities, and they showed and explained to us everything. And citizens, people told that they would disagree with this. And on which basis do you want to give it to others? We told the investigation we are not on the way of investigation, but we disagree that general prosecution gives it to the balance of that agro-industrial enterprise push-up with it. That's what we disagree with, because we don't have a legal basis for that. That is methods of raiders. And we found a compromise. There should be regulation of the cabinet of ministers, and then we would understand regulation about what? About the future life of Mezhyhirya. We are common people. We cannot think for the cabinet of ministers what they have to do with this. We, on behalf of the community and on behalf of people and visitors of this territory, there is a request of all of us that there should be a national park, the most wonderful, and I hope that it will be the most wonderful in the world, because what is there, from plants to landscapes, that's extremely expensive, beautiful. We have to support it and we should make it a tourist attraction. We will send an official letter, and we'll get a signature of the community about Mezhyhirya. One more point. It's not that the director came from a great enterprise with the prosecutors, but also they brought about 50 thugs in the best traditions of Svoboda. They wanted to, but there are a lot of us, a lot of police, and there are 70 refugees. Have they told you about the life of those people? And they didn't speak about these people. They are not interested in these people, and they didn't ask who's supporting them. Will you speak to the authorities? We hope that in the nearest future the president will react, and the prime minister, and in the nearest future the new general public prosecutor, and in the nearest future they will start dealing with this territory of Mezhyhirya, because there is a lot of property, and people for 5 months are there, and they don't understand what to wait for and what to do. One more question. Central Council of Maidan. If Mezhyhirya, if to make a center for children for recreation, once we had such an idea, we discussed it, by the way, with initiatives from Maidan. The architecture of Mezhyhirya, it's impossible. If you want to destroy the architecture, and it will be a crime. It's billions we invest. We should make a national park, and the people should walk and enjoy it. We should make a museum, keep everything, because for us never to have examples of tsars who could afford to invest billions and to live there. People are. That was only for one person. Everything was done for one person. It should be not just only for Europe, but for Ukraine. It should be for all Europe. And there are a lot of places that could serve as sanatoriums for children, and including in Sukhlucha. I have two questions with public prosecution. What if they make a decision that it will not be a national park but something else? Will you comply with the decision? I think that the community will decide. We are representatives from the community, and from quite a big number of people who signed up after that decision, and NGOs and local community. Although that should be a national park, there should be a museum. Once again, we can ask people who come what they would like to see there, and we will see. So it's not us who should comply with this, but the authorities should comply with the decision of people. And the second question was about refugees. What are they doing? So you provide food 3 times a day. What else are they doing there? How they organize their life? Refugees, they are not working. They don't have a job, and it's not my task to find a job for them. Some people help them. They help them. Women are all with children, and they cannot leave them there. Some have 3 children, some have 5 children. They are Crimean Tatars, and I cannot tell them to go and work. They have to take care of children, and some help us, but not physical work. They just clean, do receive new refugees. We don't have room for them. We keep them where, even if they destroy something, if they damage something, then it will be easy to fix. And in those premises which were just built for stuff, so those premises are not of special value. And in any case, for women with children, it's we place them there for them to have normal conditions, and a toilet, a shower, a kitchen, for everything to be clean and meet sanitary requirements. All journalists have visited, and they recorded. I have one more, the last question. People are very active. They participate, they develop legislation, people, NGOs, civic activists, they know what to do with property. Do you have your own opinion? What to do, and what decision would you suggest? Do you have a drafted document? We do a lot for different initiatives for the civic sector, and in this case, this is a state mechanism. The evidence that it was money spent from the budget, they should take it back to the private public property, and they should use it. We don't need to reinvent a bicycle. That was a manipulation of the Ministry of Agriculture, because the national parks reported to Ministry of Ecology. They manipulate, and party of Svoboda is trying to manipulate. And so former prosecutor Magnitsky and Minister Schweiker, two people. So we don't need to invent a mechanism, and we don't need to have to develop any initiative. We discussed that with the Prime Minister. He told that there should be a museum. He told, and that was also his initiative. Police is very helpful. We have very good relations with local police, and they guard Mezhyhirya. We don't have any conflict, and everything is wonderful. So there is a mechanism. We don't need to invent anything new. So you believe that it should be under the control of the Ministry of Ecology. If it is a national park, it will be under the Ministry of Ecology. We don't demand. It's not us to decide our position. Everything should be transparent, honest. It should serve to all people of Ukraine and to us who are there from the 22nd of February. We got it, and we maintain that territory. So nobody wants to take anything. We want everything to be honestly given back to the state, and it should not be looted. And it should be clear that if there were 4 chairs, and everyone costs 1,000 hryvnia, so they must be there. Everything should be done transparently. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much, Denis, that you control and then that you maintain it. And the state should take it back. And it's a great, wonderful territory. It should be a park for Ukrainians and for the state. Thank you very much. Next presentation will be here at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much.